This conference will now be recorded. So earlier in 2017, the injection, all sort of injections were number one risk, but now it moved down to 3. So still, yeah. So it is the third most important risks that are common in web applications. And in this web application that we are going to practice today is vulnerable to SQL injection. So there are different types of injections like command injection, SQL injection, and also OS injection and XXE, etc. So this lab is more into SQL injection vulnerable. So it is intentionally made vulnerable just for the security researchers or whoever is learning security, cyber security or penetration testing. So it's good for students to see this kind of vulnerabilities live in a virtual environment, and we can set up these labs actually. So for OACP and CPENT also, CPENT more focus into like not capture the flag kind of as if as in OACP, but more realistic kind of penetration tests where there will be like Wi-Fi and OS IT. Of course, OACP will be like binary will be there, and then a lot of boxes that we can. I will suggest you, Naveen, later few boxes like
Yeah,
that
sure.
we can practice. So now we have a SQL injection to shell. It's a basic like just to be comfortable. So I will ask everyone to download it. And if you're using some virtualization technologies like VMware or VirtualBox, you can go ahead and set up. So here it can flag. The antivirus can flag it as a virus. Can give you a false warning, but it's good. Like you can go ahead and if you have already downloaded. So I have already downloaded in my this folder, Mr. Robot. So this is here in my D drive, and I can extract. Oh yeah. So I'm running Kali Linux as the attacker machine through which we will test. We have already set up this lab in a virtual environment, and again I can go ahead and
So you
in
have
virtual.
downloaded on your Kali Linux, mrrobot.ova.
Yes.
That okay.
So yesterday I already told like yeah we are
Yeah.
going to. So Mr. Robot, this one is the OVA file, and then we are going to import it, and it depends upon like different virtualization software. Like for VMware it will be different, but still like it's similar. So in VirtualBox I'm going to import the OVA file because it's not an ISO file. For ISO the again it is different. The process is different. So here we are going to select that file. It's in my D drive. And
Okay, so you're creating a virtual environment with Mr. Robot.
yes, so Mr. Robot is another virtual testing
It's VM.
where like we have a yeah it's a VM where we have a Linux machine and it hosts a WordPress website actually, and also the Linux machine which is also is vulnerable, like it hosts a web server where it hosts a vulnerable web application. It's a WordPress web application. Again, in SQLite shell, again this machine or the VM is Linux based, not Windows. Yesterday we did a Windows VM,
Yes,
like where I put an
yes,
eternal
I do
boot. Yeah,
remember, but I didn't get this one that I should have done it. Okay. All right, no
yeah.
problem.
So
I will download it.
yeah, you can download and then extract, and then you can write robot. So it is a Ubuntu machine. So the server is a Ubuntu system where Ubuntu machine is running a web server. In the web server, it hosts a vulnerable web application, and this web application we have three flags actually need to be captured, and the server itself is vulnerable and the web application is also vulnerable. So here we will see how we can practice our skills to gain or get access to those three answers or three flags that we'll be working on. And I'll just set up my VM. I'm selecting a D drive instead of C. I have different VMs here. So it will import the OVA file, extract and set things up for me. It is importing, as you can see, it will take some time. Then I have already downloaded the ISO file from here. This is the ISO file. And I have already set up, I mean, using the ISO file, I used a new option. That means like here, welcome, new, and then named it as SQLite shell and choose my location and then next, next, next. And then I have selected the ISO file. And then similar to installing an ISO file in a operating system, I have done in this virtual environment. And then now it is ready, as you can see, SQLite shell. So I'll be choosing a virtual network, a host only adapter. I'm in adapter 3 right now. So this is the configuration. You can see like I'm using around 512 MB of RAM and display memory. So if you're using VMware, it will be a little different, but it's almost same. Then host only adapter, this is the adapter I'm using. So we should be in the same network. So Kali Linux is also running in host only adapter 3.
So
So
does
this
it
kind
have
of
to be host only adapter? So I have a virtual network created with another name, so they all are NAT adapter. So do I have
okay,
to
you
have
can, if it is, yeah, if it is NAT network, you will have internet access. But NAT, if it is NAT, you should choose at least host only adapter because we don't need internet connectivity for this kind of machines because these are vulnerable. We can use
okay.
using NAT or NAT network, but
I'm using
better.
NAT network for everything because I have created the virtual network.
Okay, you can use NAT network if you can communicate or ping with each other in this inside the machine within
Yeah,
that
yeah.
network, then you can. So for this purpose, I'm using host only
Host
adapter,
network.
and this machine is in host adapter 3, Kali
Right.
Linux
So
machine,
for
and
all these
I'm
kind of
running it.
attacks, only like for these kind of attacks, only we need to have it on the same network, is it?
Yeah, because we are simulating a realistic kind of attack just for learning purpose and in a virtualization. So it should be in the same network so that they can communicate with each other. And we don't need internet connectivity. For example, like we can use net network or NAT or host only adapter is preferred. But we should not use bridge adapter because if we use bridge adapter, so it will act as a additional system using the host operating system. So it can expose because it will be definitely exposed to the internet, and anyone searching for might actually find this kind of vulnerability, then they can gain access to our host system. So not
Okay.
advisable to use host bridge adapter. So you can
Okay.
create, if you doesn't have any here adapter, you can create one, and it will be created. For me, I'm using this network like range 192.168.57.1/24, and DHCP is enabled, so I will get IP address automatically, dynamic host configuration protocol. So in this LAN, I have enabled DHCP, and One is the default gateway, and server address is 2. And from lower bound, like from 3 to 254, this machine at the DSCP server will assign any IP address automatically. So now if I run in this network like 3 machine, so within 3 to 255, I can get any private IP address that will be assigned by DSCP server.
Okay,
So now,
so basically all the machines that you're working with currently, it's Kali, your SQLi shell, and Mr. Robot, they're all on the um, same network, and
yeah,
none of them have access to internet.
yes,
All right. So what
And
what would you do?
one more thing, like yesterday, you just helped me out with the Windows 7 exploitation, right? So to have
yes.
an exploit with Windows 7 also, do you need to have the computer always in the same network, or can that be done even through the WAN connection?
Yeah, it can be done, but we are like we are not breaking any law, and we are practicing in our own environment, right? So if you want to, if you have two laptops, for example, you can use the bridge adapter. Like one laptop is connected, and that is actually resource incentive and it's more expensive to create. So that's why we are creating a virtual lab. But you can
Okay,
try that. Like if you have permission and it's your own network, you're in your own Wi-Fi network. So one PC is having this vulnerable uh, Windows 7 that is vulnerable to Eternal Blue, and
okay,
one machine will be your Parrot or Kali Linux. And then you are going to attack that. So that IP address you have to use like the private IP address, of course. But if it is like a different service provider, that also you can try. But for that you need port forwarding or DNS, like kind of a no IP address or NGROC that forwarded your uh, private
okay. So I need
to
to,
different.
if at all, if it's not on the same network, then I have to use it for port forwarding in all these.
Yeah, but you have to be like you have just for your like idea you can do that, but you should be the owner of that, or you should otherwise
Yeah,
it's
like
not legal. Right?
I
Yeah.
like see, for example, if I have one PC and one laptop at home,
Yes. Yes.
then I can surely try it out, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, that's the reason because I would prefer hacking over the network because things always cannot happen on the same network sometimes.
Yeah, sometimes in different networks, that is pivoting, like we will understand. So if you have two networks, like one is internal network, one is outside, and the
Yeah.
outside network was vulnerable, some machine like the attacker gain access, then he or
Okay.
she can gain inside internal network. But yeah, that is
Okay.
also good because just for learning purpose, it's the same thing, but you have to um, check it as that uh, as if it is a yeah network, but you have to pretend. But actually, we are
Ye-
practicing in a
Yeah.
virtual network.
Would you even show that a practical one for us, or am I supposed to try it on my own?
No, I'm
This conference
Kali
will now
machine,
be recorded.
and I will start my SQLi to shell machine. It will be in the same network. We are using host only adapter. We'll start this machine. So after that, our parrot like Mr. Robot machine. I think we were configuring it. It's almost done. I think. Let me check.
Hello.
So this is Mr. Robot. We have to do a little change. I mean, yeah. Oh, it is still like the exporting is going on. After this process, actually, we are going to. I'm going to demonstrate. If it is done, so we have to go to settings and bring it in VirtualBox depending upon what kind of virtualization software you're using. If you're using VMware, you have to check. So I'm using VirtualBox here. There is some uh, error, I think. So I have to check and use VM as VGA in display settings instead of this VM as VGA. So it is gone now. And video memory, I prefer like full. and then we have 512 MB, that is sufficient. We don't need floppy, so I'll just bring it down. And this is the boot order. Like first it will boot from the hard disk, optical, then the hard disk. But we can give it like in this order, because like if you're using an ISO file, it will try to boot from the ISO file. So if ISO is in the second, like after it is, first it will boot from the hard drive and then from the ISO file. It doesn't matter. Like right now we are using an OVA file. So next thing is network. So by default, bridge adapter, but that is not required at the moment, because it will expose this machine, because this machine is a Debian system and it hosts a web server. Hosts a vulnerable web application that is vulnerable, and if you use the bridge adapter, it can expose to the internet. It can be exposed to the internet, so that's a bad thing. So either we can use network or NAT if we have connectivity. The machines can ping with each other, but for now I don't want internet access, and I'm using host only adapter, and all the other machines are also in host only adapter, in adapter 3. And we are good to go. We can start this as well. So in my background you can see SQLite to shell, it boot up, and it's a Debian machine. So this is the scenario, like there is a attacker, or you can think like we are just learning, we are new to penetration testing or security assessment, and we are now doing a security assessment on a Linux Debian based system, and we don't know yet like if it hosts a vulnerable application, or it is hosting some web server or all that. Like that we will find out after initial host discovery and then reconnaissance and all that. Like then we'll do scanning and vulnerability analysis, then we'll try to gain access, then we will maintain access, and then post exploitation steps. So this is SQLi. Then again there is another machine that we are booting up. So this machine is also Linux based system. It is using a Linux operating system. Again, this machine is also vulnerable, because this machine is hosting a vulnerable web application. So that also we don't know yet. Like we'll pretend that we don't know yet, but just because this is a for practice purpose, so we are learning those skills actually. So we are going to learn all the methodologies that we know. As part of penetration testing or ethical hacking, we'll start with information gathering or footprinting, and then we'll do scanning, vulnerability analysis, check out security gaps or vulnerabilities. So if we find security vulnerabilities, we'll try to gain access, maintain access, and do the post exploration step. In this Mr. Robot machine, it is booting up. As you can see, it is also vulnerable. So side by side, because I'm also demonstrating, and I asked yesterday for everyone to set up your or download the OVA file for Mr. Robot for SQLi to shell if you haven't. So now you can see there is a login prompt, and I don't know anything, and it can be a scenario of internal as well as external penetration testing. So external is like when we have an IP address and we have a web application. So because web applications are open door or gateways throughout the world, like in every organization they use web application, so that they are present digitally, and these are actually entry points. So hackers also, they prefer or find or try to find security weakness or gaps in these web applications. So because this Mr. Robot, it hosts a web application that is a WordPress website. So the attacker can gain from external also because of that vulnerability. But this whole lab setup is internal. Like we are actually doing the internal assessment. So now we don't know anything about Mr. Robot. It's booted. If you haven't downloaded, you can go visit. Both the labs are downloaded from VulnHub. Pentest from SQLi injection to shell. This is the link. This is the ISO file. And for Mr. Robot also from VulnHub, this is the OVA file around 704 MB. So now we'll go to our Kali machine. We'll first check our IP address. So we are in 192.168.57.5 range. So first step is host discovery. We don't know about different hosts in this network. So we'll ping, or we can do if we don't want ICMP, we can do ARP related, like ARP scan, or we can do net discover. So we are going to discover the host actually inside this in this network. So in this network, we already know that we have 3 machines running at the moment. So one is Kali Linux, another one is SQLite shell, another one is Mr. Robot. So we'll use nmap host discovery SN ping scan. It will disable port scan. We are not scanning any ports, but we want to discover or find out different hosts in this particular network. So we'll do nmap and then SN, and we know that this is our IP address and the default gateway is 57.1, right? So we will do 1, and then we can do minus up to 255 entire range in this subnet we can scan, or we can do minus 24. This is also same actually as this. So now we are going to ping every host from 1 to 255, and whichever host is alive, it will reply our request. And that way, Nmap will determine that whichever hosts are alive or running in this network. So one address is 5.7, the address of the IP address, private IP address of Kali Linux machine. And then this is the Kali Linux IP address. This host is up. Then 57.6 is another, and 57.9 is another. So further scanning will let us differentiate, like whether this is SQLite shell or Mr. Robot. So we don't know which is which right now. So we can do a still scan, like TCP sync connect scan is ST, still scan is SS, then acknowledgement scan is SA, Windows scan is this, and so on. We can also do UDP scan if sometimes TCP, like there are ports in UDP, like UDP traffic can reveal certain ports. We are going to clear the screen and scan. So I expect all the learners, participants to perform this hands-on on your own respective PC as along with me. So I'm now scanning this IP address to find out open ports. I'm not using any switches, like we can use minus S, but by default I think it's using a sync scan, or it can be a TCP scan. So full connect scan. Here, this is SSH HTTP. This is one IP address. Another IP address was 57.6. We'll scan this as well. So host discovery, this is one way. Another way would be by sending ARP requests using net discover. So net discover will also check this range, and then it will let us know about, like, so our target machine is 9 and 6. 5 is the IP address of Kali Linux machine, and 9 is the IP address with this 2080, and here also we have port 22 and 80. I think this is SQLite shell, and this is Mr. Robot. Like, it is having like 443 as well. Like, it is HTTPS. So 192.168.57.9 is the IP address of Mr. Robot, and here 192.167.57.6 is the IP address of the Kali Linux, not Kali Linux, sorry, SQLite shell machine. And this we can easily identify the same using net discover. So 6 is SQLite shell, and 9 is Mr. Robot. Again, we have ARP scan. So if we do ARP scan, so this is the uses of ARP scan, like option and then host. So we can target IP address or host name, and we can use CIDR notation like 10.10. Entire range, network range. So let's try this. So we need sudo permission in order to perform ARP scan. And it is basically sending ARP requests, and you can see we were able to discover port 192, the IP address of SQLite shell, which is 192.168.57.6. Another one is 192.168.57.9. So we have our targets. Now we are doing further investigation. So first we did the host discovery, then we did network scanning, and now we are looking for security gaps so that we can gain unauthorized access. So our motive is to, as part of penetration testing, find out security issues and see how far it can be, like, if there are some issues, I mean, how far a real attacker would have exploited those security issues. So that we are going to test next. So both the system, this is Mr. Robot. So Mr. Robot, we will actually stop it for now. First, we are going to target the SQLite shell. Then we are going to again continue Mr. Robot. So SQLite shell, here we have SSH, port 22 is open SSH. We can brute force SSH if there is a login, but this is actually more focusing into a hacking into a web application. So here we have a HTTP. So if we do version detection, we'll be able to see whether what is the HTTP server for this machine. So we are running a command, and earlier we did a simple nmap scan where we found that port 22 and port 80 are open, and these are the services. Port 22 is running SSH, port 80 is running HTTP. And now we are going to do a version detection as well. And for this kind of scans, we need sudo root level access privilege. Now it will scan and give us the version of the HTTP and SSH. as you can see, port 22 SSH, the version is open SSH 5.5.1. Then we can investigate or search this version in Google, whether there are any security weakness. Then port 80 HTTP, it is running an Apache web server, Apache HTTP D 2.2.16, and the operating system is Debian. Now we can investigate port 80 because this lab is SQLite to shell we already know, and so we can actually footprint and focus our attention to finding the SQL injection vulnerability in this vulnerable web application. So in this Debian machine, it is running a web server. So port 80 is open. So in that case, we will copy the IP address. We can also do nicto and check for any vulnerabilities in this web server, because it's running a web server. So in this web server, there is a vulnerable web application that is hosted, and this is just for learning purpose. And this machine is itself vulnerable for us to understand how SQL injection works. So now we are also using the tool called nicto, and it use a -u option actually. So we need to specify the host or the URL, like -URL and then the host name. Okay, so now nicto, after this scan, we'll be able to find some information or any issues related to this Apache web server. So nicto is also a good web application, web server scanner. So this result, you can see X powered by, and then we have some information, Apache. Then there is a admin login, you can see here, admin login PHP. It is actually testing, and you can see it can reveal some sensitive information. Then we have some interesting directory here, CSS image directory. You can see this. So let's check image directory. Also, Nikto was able to find the admin login PHP. So there is a possible login page. So let's check the image directory first. So here we have an image directory, copy, and we'll open Firefox. And in order to access this directory, we have to use URL or the IP address 192.168.57.6. Like some of your, I think someone's mic is unmute. I mean, I can hear. Yeah, now it is okay. So now we are going to open the web browser, and then 192.57.6 is the IP address, and then the images directory that Nikto was able to find. We are going to verify this whether it exists. Oh, sorry. Yeah, so it exists. You can see there is a key.png and there is an image folder. So let's check the IP itself. So it is an awesome photo blog, and there is an admin login form. This is the part admin login.php. You can see from here, Nikto was able to find that login also, admin login.php. So this one, like admin login page found, and so so it's a good way. If you find a web server, you can start with scanning with Nikto. It will give you some information or misconfiguration in web servers. So you can go through this actually. So now we are going to focus on the web application. So we have a login form and we don't have the username and password. We cannot log in, right? So it's a simple web application and it is a photo blog where the administrator will log in and it will upload some photos in this photo blog. So you can see the administrator already upload a few photos or pictures. One is hacker, one is Ruby, and one is Chit Who. This is another picture. So we can see like where these kind of pictures, because usually when with this kind of application we find, so either it can be vulnerable to SQL injection because this machine is already the named as SQLite to shell. That means this web application or the website is already vulnerable to SQL injection, and also there is a shell upload vulnerability. So now we are going to see the SQL injection, or try to do a SQL injection, and then after gaining access, after knowing the username and password, we will log in, and after logging in, we will try to upload a shell, because there is a upload functionality, obviously, because here the images can be uploaded, like it's a photo blog. So now we will see like where these images gets uploaded, just for our information, because if we upload a shell to get a reverse connection, so we should actually know or able to locate where actually our uploaded shell is actually uploaded, in which directory. So for that we can copy the image location and see if we can find. Usually like it is not found in modern application, but just for the learning purpose, like you can see it is uploaded in admin directory, and there is another directory called uploads directory where the hacker.png was uploaded. So if we simply try to access, so due to lack of permission we are seeing this actually. So some of the application, if it is secured, then we won't be able to see, or it will redirect. So now due to some lack of permission, we are able to see the admin uploads folder where all the three files, three image files are uploaded, you can see. So now we will try to upload a PHP script where it will give us unauthorized access, and we will take over the whole server. This is the SQLi Debian machine. So in this Debian machine, there is a Apache server and it hosts a photo blog, web application. So that web application is vulnerable to SQL injection, and due to this vulnerability, the attacker will be able to gain access to the login of the web application. And after logging in to the web application, the attacker can upload a web shell. So this web shell will be uploaded in the web server as well as in the system. So this in the directory of the Debian system, and then we can actually access this machine itself, like complete takeover of the web server. So that we are going to do. So for that, we know where the uploads, if we upload something, where it will be uploaded. So now we don't know the login. So we need to find the login anyhow. But before that, we have to check whether it is vulnerable to SQL injection. So SQL injection can be sometimes blind, or sometimes like error based. If it is error based, it's easier to identify. So we'll just type a single quote, and if you find some errors, then it is error based SQL injection or union based. If it is blind, like it actually there is another version of this photo block. So it is blind SQL where we won't see any error, but we have to provide some payloads and check like for some time delay or true false kind of things, and that way actually it's time consuming, but without any error. Attacker use time based or like union sorry time like blind SQL injection payloads to gain or get a useful information like username and password from the database. So that we will practice in the next upcoming classes. So for now, like we are going to see whether this application is vulnerable. For that we just have to check different functionality of the web application. So if you click on test, so it is written in PHP. You can see category id is equal to 1. Again, if we go to 2010, it is like category id is equal to 3. So these are different categories. Like if you give category 4, so it is not giving us anything, but if we do 1, like it will. So now we want to check whether this application is vulnerable. So for example, if id is 1, it will give us some output. Id is 2, it will give us some output. So we want to break this query like that PHP is getting from the database. So when we give id, so this is what is happening in the background. See, uh, select the photo that for example, like select from this table where photo id is equal to 2. So that SQL query will get executed in the backend, and then the backend will give us the image. So now if you want to break the query, we give usually a single quote and see if you can break the application. So if you give single quote, now we are not getting any image, but we are getting an error, you can see. So that means this application is vulnerable to SQL injection. You have an error in SQL syntax, line 1. So now we confirm that it's a error base and the application is vulnerable to SQL injection. So now we can just simply copy this and we can use a tool called nmap, SQL map. And then after gaining access to the login page, I mean after SQL doing the SQL injection and gaining access to the username and password for the user admin, we can log in, and after logging in we can upload. We'll try to upload a shell, and then we will get a reverse connection. So that we are going to do. So you can also try side by side. So in order to do that, like first next step is like we are going to open another terminal. We are going to read the manual for SQL map. So SQL map is an automatic SQL injection tool, and using this tool we will see we can actually use this tool according to our requirement. Like there are different functionalities, you can see, like -h is for help, or -hh is for like getting more information, advanced help messages, and it will exit. Version minus small v is for verbosity level. -u or hyphen URL to specify the URL that we want to test. For example, it is giving this example like http.site.com1.php id is equal to 1. So if the target URL is this, then we have to tell SQL map that SQL map space hyphen URL and then the target website. Then we have other options like we can use Google Docs. Then we can specify cookies. Then we can check for DBMS. Then we have option to dump all, that will dump database table entries. And then -d, if we know the database name, then we will use hyphen capital D. And if you know the table name, we will type hyphen capital T. If we know the column name, we will type hyphen capital C. Similarly, yeah, these are, I think, yeah, here you can see. Then if you don't know the table, like we'll start with enumerating the table, like enumerating database table. Then columns, enumerate database columns. Dump is to dump database table entries. So these are different things we are going to use while exploiting this SQL injection vulnerability in this web application. So now we are going to quit from this and SQL map -u and type the URL. So while our testing, we found that this parameter id is equal to, if we give a single quote, it is giving us an error, SQL error. So this means it's vulnerable to SQL injection. So blind SQL injection, if we give id hyphen, then we won't see any error here. That means like then we have to use time-based payloads or boolean, uh, uh, true false kind of queries that will actually help us find out the username and password or manipulate things. So that is a different lab actually that we will do in the upcoming classes. So for now, like, this is a blind SQL vulnerable application and we already know, and now we want to know the login details of the user admin. So this is the user admin, and then we were trying to upload a shell. So for that, like, first we are simply going to run this command, like SQL map -u, then id is equal to 2, then we are going to query databases. So now there is a typo, actually SQL map, yeah. So now it will do automatic testing, and then because it is vulnerable, so in no time we are able to find available database. There are two available database. It's a information schema and photoblog. So this is the database we are interested in, photoblog. So we'll copy the name. So we started with this command, and it gave us the database, different databases. So we copied the database. Now we are going to enumerate different tables inside the database and the columns, and then try to dump the username and password. And if we get the password, encrypted password or something, we try to crack the password, and eventually we'll be able to log in this form. And then the next step is uploading a shell. That is actually last step. So now we were able to find that here we have two database. Like information schema is like by default some data, like here in the second database is interesting, which is photoblog, where we must find the username and password. Now in the next step, in this step actually we are telling SQL map to check this particular vulnerable parameter URL, where it is vulnerable to blind SQL injection. And now we know the database, right, in the earlier command, from the earlier command. So we are now telling SQL map to check for this database, inside this database, and give us the names of the tables. So we are going to enumerate the tables inside the database photoblog. So we will type enter, press enter, and you can see it did some query, error based, and it did some like concat and some queries related to SQL queries. And using this command, I was able to find that inside the database photoblog we have three tables. These tables are categories, pictures, and users. So first two table doesn't seem interesting, but the third table seems interesting. It's users table, so definitely it must hold the username and password of the administrator, right? So now we will select the users table. And in this command, we are telling SQL map to check in this vulnerable database, this parameter where we are checking. We already got the tables inside the database called photoblog. and we are now trying to enumerate columns inside the table name users. Then we'll press enter, and then we found that inside the database we are now finding information inside the tables called users, and we have successfully found three columns. Like these columns are ID column, login column, and password column. So in this command, like we are going to tell SQL map to look at the photo block and specifically also look into the table called users, where we have three columns. So we want to dump information from this column called ID, comma, login, comma, password. So now we are going to press enter, and it is asking whether some hash file were able to, SQL map was able to find some hash. You can see, do you want to store hashes to a temporary file for eventual further processing with other tools? Yes or no. So we can specify location where if there are some hash files, encrypted files, that will be actually we can use to crack later on. So now we will type no actually. And do you want to crack them via dictionary based attack? We will type yes. And SQL map, it has a inbuilt dictionary file. Otherwise we can specify a dictionary file that can be used to crack those hashes. So now in no time it found a MD5 generic password, and it found a password for this hash actually. So this was the hash, and it was a MD5 uh, hash of this string. And then SQL was able to crack the password, and now you can see this is the user admin. So under ID we have only one user, that is admin. This is the login details, and this is the password. So it was hashed with an MD5 algorithm, and after cracking we got the password. So now as we have the password, we can simply so more information or the result, you can find it here actually. Kali local share SQL map output inside the IP address dump photoblock user.csv. So now we have the password and the username is admin. We can go to this and log in. So now we could successfully log in as the administrator after knowing that this application is vulnerable to SQL injection, and then we use a tool, SQL map, to automatically do the SQL injection for us, and then we specify certain things, and then we were able to crack the admin username and password. So now we are logged in into the admin account. Here you can see the admin can manage pictures like edit, delete, add new picture. So if you click here new picture, it will ask you to browse and add a new picture in different folders like test. So this is ID is equal to 1, ID is equal to 2, ID is equal to 3. So now we want to upload a PHP file instead of a picture file, and it will be uploaded here in the uh, uploads folder in this web server, and then we can take over the web server itself. So now let's see how what can be done. So we can also go to manage picture and click here add new picture. This way also we can add. So what we can add is I will demonstrate. So there are some tools actually inside the Kali Linux. Oh, these are called web shells. In this part, user share web shells, we have ASP web shell, ASPX, CMS, JSP, and Purl and PHP. So as we know, like our application is running under PHP, right? So this is PHP, new.php. So that's why we have to upload a PHP backdoor. For that, like we are going to check what all web shells are available. We'll change the directory to PHP. Now we are in PHP directory, and these are the web shells like PHP reverse shell, simple backdoor. So we will be using this PHP reverse shell by pentest monkey. So if you search the keyword pentest monkey, you will find this actually. So we'll do the cat command and read the content. So this is the reverse shell by pentest monkey, pentestmonkey.net. You can visit this website. It is already there in our Kali Linux machine and Parrot security. So this tool may be used for legal purpose. If you have just for penetration testing purpose, we can use. These are all comments, by the way. That code starts from here. Set limit 0. So this is the PHP file starting from here, and these are comments, and this is the code. So it says like change this. So by default, the IP address is the local address 127.0.1, and the port IP is 1234. So we can change it according to whatever port we want, like maybe 4444 or any unused port, so that it doesn't conflict. And the IP address, we should give the IP address of the machine that we are using or trying to connect with. So in this case, it is locally we are trying to connect, right? So here we can use our Kali Linux IP address. So this step I have already done. If I go to my desktop, I'll show you. So here I have a simple backdoor.php. Sorry, this one is the reverse shell. So if I open it using any text editor, this is the same PHP file I shown you earlier using the cat command. So I have changed the IP address to the IP address of Kali Linux machine, and I can use any port like 1234 or 12345. And then I will save this. Let me confirm the IP address. The IP address is same 192.168.57.5. Now we will save the file. And we are good to go. Like it will do its thing automatically. We just need to upload the file. We'll give a title like test1 and then browse the PHP file. We'll try to upload our PHP backdoor file. So let's see what happens. This is the PHP reverse shell. We'll open and then click on add. So when I try to upload a PHP file, it says no PHP. That means like due to some kind of security control or some kind of coding, it is blocking PHP file to be uploaded. Actually, it is checking the extension. So now we don't have any way to upload, but we can do a bit tweak by changing the extension, making it uppercase or something like that. So we are going to do that. But before that, let's see if we can upload a picture, like just random picture. Now we are just trying to upload a screenshot here. Like I'll click add, and it got added. Actually, you can see if I refresh this, so we have a screenshot. It was uploaded in the server. You can see. So that means it allows only image files, that PNG specifically, to be uploaded, and or JPG you can see. But if you upload a PHP file, we won't be able to upload it. But in order to gain unauthorized access, we need a reverse shell. So that's why what we want to do. So in order to do that, like we will. So we are going to do a tweak. For example, we'll rename the end part, like where it is P, small letter, we'll give a capital P. So it is usually checking the extension like PHP, but if you give a PH capital P, then it will actually not detect, hopefully. So this is our shell. We'll try to upload with capital P. Now add, and it got uploaded. Actually, you can see. This way we are able to bypass the security check. And if you refresh here, our shell is now uploaded in the server. So before we do anything, we have to actually use netcat and try to listen to the incoming connection on that port that we use in the shell. We use this port, so that we should remember 1, 2, 3, 5. If you do the read the manual of netcat, you can see it's a Swiss Army knife for. I mean, it has a lot of functionality. The netcat is a simple Unix utility which reads and writes data across a network connection. We can use network to establish reverse connection. So we'll use the option netcat NLVP, like N for numeric only IP address, no DNS. So if you don't give N, because we have a numeric IP address here, so we are going to use this option N. Then L for listening mode, it will listen for incoming connection. Then V for verbose, like whatever is happening, it will print in the screen. And for P, we'll give a local port number. So that is why we are using the P option also here in our upcoming command. So now we are listening at port 1235. So now Netcat is listening for any incoming connection in this port 1235. And as our web shell is having this port, so it will connect. And the IP address is also given in the web shell already. So all we have to do is we have to access the path of the website by we can simply right click here. And but if we don't have access, for example, if due to permission and we know that this is uploaded here and we don't know the exact path, then we can guess actually. For example, we can either visit the website or we can use another command like wget and visit that link. So if we try to get or access this link where our web shell is uploaded, we should actually get a reverse connection here. So I'll press enter. And when I pressed enter, you can see waiting for response. And here we got a bean shell. So when I said who am I, I'm www data. So ls, you can see all the files and folder here. I'm in the home directory. Which directory? I'm in the root directory. You can see bin, boot, div, etc, home. So this way I was able to exploit a SQL vulnerability, SQL injection vulnerability in a vulnerable web application and upload a shell and then gain unauthorized access to that machine. So here, the exam point of view, if they will ask you to capture some flags or some questions related to like what is the folder or what is there in the home folder or something like that you have to answer according to whatever questions will be asked. But this is the basic way how we can actually gain access. So next we will do Mr. Robot, but before that I want to know about like whether you are also performing this lab, or if you have any questions, or like if you are having some problem, you can let me know. I will try to resolve them.
So when you were uploading that that file, initially you couldn't upload it, that PHP file, isn't that true?
Yes.
So what did we do to get the reversal?
So we did it was like what we did was like we changed the PHP and made it a capital letter here. So there
Also,
are sometimes like
okay, right.
polygons, or it's polygon. Yeah. So there are something called polygon or something like that. Like let me check. I think not this one. But usually, like yeah, what I did was like there was a security control. It was checking for PHP files specifically because this is a photo blog, and the developer or whoever developed the web application developed in such a way that only uh, photo related pictures, jpgs can be uploaded. So but we cannot upload a picture to get a reversal, right? Like
Mm-hmm.
sometimes we can, like we can intercept the request using burp suite, and after it passes the check, we can try to inject like from directly to the server, send some response from by replaying using intercepting the request. But that sometimes works. But what I did was like I changed the name and make it capital P, so it was checking for php but not capital P. So that's why it passed and allowed me to upload the shell.
Okay, so it was not checking for image or JPEG or something like that. Okay, it was checking specifically for PHP file.
Yeah, it was allowing only photos like jpg and png, but not allowing other extensions. So next class we are going to do the Mr. Robot. So I suggest you to do practice of SQLite to shell. Like I think you can do it, and then after that, as we are going to do practice Mr. Robot. So Mr. Robot is also similar, but instead of having a SQL injection vulnerability in the web application, and it's a PHP, still it's PHP, but Mr. Robot hosts a WordPress related website. So there we can find a flag, and we'll actually capture three flags in the Mr. Robot vulnerable machine that I will demonstrate tomorrow in the next class. So here, if you have any question, you can ask me like related to the queries. So we start with the host discovery. After finding our target, we did a nmap scan. After doing the nmap scan, we also did a Nikto scan, and we were able to locate some directories and login pages. So we were able to locate the uploads directory. You can see this is the images directory where images were uploaded, and also we were able to find the login page, but we don't know what was the login credential. That's why also we found that it is vulnerable to SQL injection in this step. So it's a error-based SQL injection. Then we use a tool called SQL map. And using SQL map, we did automatically actually find the username and password. First, we did uh, point to the vulnerable parameter where we found the error, and we told SQL map to dump the database or enumerate the database. After that, we're able to find the database name called photoblog. Yeah, this one database name photoblog. After finding the photoblog, we actually told SQL map to find or enumerate the tables inside the photoblock using this command. Then we were able to find the tables and interesting tables. Like we found three tables, and users was the interesting table where there is a potential of holding username and password. So we told SQL map to locate specifically, look at this table and give us the columns. So using this command, capital D photo block, capital T users table, we were actually looking into we are trying to look into the columns inside these tables. So after this command, we were able to find the columns, and then we dumped those columns, and SQL map was able to find the username and password. Password was encrypted in MD5 hash, and it cracked using one of its inbuilt dictionary file, and then we got the password. So after getting the password, we logged in to the admin panel, and we're not able to upload any PHP file. Then we modified the PHP and then upload. After uploading, we saw that when we type a capital P after instead of a small p in the PHP extension .php, we were able to upload the PHP reverse shell. We already pointed it the IP address. We changed the IP address. We also changed the port number, and then next step we launched netcat and listen to the incoming connection, and we access. We already know that this PHP was uploaded in the uploads directory. So even if in some times like you are able to upload a reverse shell, but if you don't know the path and you are not able to access that shell, then it won't work. It won't be executed in the server. So that is sometimes a problem you might face. For that, like you have to know the exact path where when we upload, it is uploaded actually. So here it is very easy. Like we know that it is uploaded in this directory, admins uploads directory. So we simply use the wget to connect to this, and then it was actually executed in the web server, and immediately we got a reverse shell as we were listening to this port 1235, and then now we are having the full access to the web
Okay,
server.
so that was where I was a little bit confused at how did we get to work out the path.
Yeah. So now this is how we got right. So we can do ls.
Is there a
We have
way,
all this
sorry,
go
is there a
inside
way
and
to find the path?
huh.
Is there a way to find the path or no?
Yeah, pwd command, like we are in the root directory.
So
So
once
if
we
we
are
want to
inside,
go,
we can find the path, but uh, to get that to
oh,
give that wget
oh, this one.
command, yeah.
Yeah, wget is I used actually, but if you know, like it is uploaded in some directory, we can also visit to get the same thing. For example, here, like if we right click, I mean,
Mhm.
we have to visit this link actually. So in a browser also, instead of wget, if you visit this link, so
Okay,
it
right,
will also give us the web shell. So that will
right.
actually execute the PHP code in the web server and then gives us a backdoor. And as we are listening, then we can connect via the
Cat.
this one, netcat. So you practice this. If you have already done it, like then no problem, and then we will go with the Mr. Robot thing. Like that, there also like we will use try to find a vulnerability in the web application, and if not, like we'll try to crack like brute force a web WordPress website. So Mr. Robot is like let me show you, like because we already have the IP address. So this is Mr. Robot, and SQLite to shell already we exploited SQL injection vulnerability in the web application and got a shell to this machine. For Mr. Robot, we already know the IP address through our nmap scan. So this is the IP address. So they have HTTPS as well as HTTP, and SSH is also open. So we can simply open HTTPS also, like because it is running port 4443. So if I go, it is not allowing me to actually. Oh, I have to type one. So when I go, it is giving me the warning message because HTTP is not verified. So I have to go to advanced, then accept the risk. Then I can access the URL. So now I'm going to access. You can see something is loading. So when I access HTTPS, it's loading something like Mr. Robot root password something. So this is actually based on the theme, Mr. Robot series. So it says, "Hello, friend. If you have come for a reason. You may not be able to explain it yet, but you're there a part of the exhausted, something like that." So if you want to type prepare, it's giving me some commands. Prepare will do something like what?
Rest decided between June 18th and 20th, we will take back over $100,000 and give it to you. Live on
It's
Twitch.
based on the Mr. Robot series
That
actually.
holds you hostage. All you need is a
It's a
code.
message if I type prepare. Again, it is going to F society, enter a command or type help. So like you can play around this things, like I think not this one, GLP. F society. So it is inviting us to join F society. So it's interesting, like if you remember or recall this web series, if you have seen, so it's there is a F society actually that so inform another command, some message we can see here. Some message like it's from the hacktivist group. Billionaire secretly launches private rocket into space. Middle East credit card users spread some injection and all that. Like so, if you visit the HTTP version also, then because we have two ports, like one HTTPS and one is HTTP. HTTP. So if you visit this, still redirecting me to HTTPS, I think. Yeah.
What I'm about to tell you is top secret. A conspiracy bigger than all of us. There's a powerful group of people out there that are secretly running the world. I'm talking about the guys no one knows about, the guys that are invisible. The top 1% of the top 1%, the guys that play God without permission.
Cool. That's amazing.
Yeah, that's really cool. So now, like basically, this is a website. So now we have to begin our test, like what it is built of, like by inspecting elements. We have these three information as of now. Like this is it's using HTTPS. It's running a web server and SSH. So like if you set up the lab and do a version detection as well, you will be able to. Also, you can run Nikto scan. You can do minus SV and Nikto scan. Then we will check for more information actually. So tomorrow we are going to cover this. Usually we can do control U also to check the source code. Good idea to check the source code to see any information that we can collect. Like so here you can see script src wp content theme 25 js. So we know like this is a WordPress website. So now again in WordPress there can be many vulnerabilities. We can try to find the login page, etc., etc. So just by inspecting the element we are able to see this actually. So we can do wp admin because it's a WordPress website, right? So when we do WordPress admin, it is redirecting us to a login page. So this is a hint, like we can actually brute force. We can also check for robots.txt in websites. Like robots.txt is for search engine. It says like whether to crawl certain web directories or web directories or files or not. So sometimes it might contain like robots.txt, and you can see we got a user agent dictionary file and also key one of three text. So there is a key one of three. That means we already found the first flag by simply checking the robots.txt. So if we go ahead and check this, we should get the first key. As you can see, we got the first answer. And for different websites, we have robots.txt. So for example, if I have to show you facebook.com/robots.txt. So for Facebook, oh, I can't access the internet here. So it's sometimes informative to check, look around the robots.txt of different websites. So here you can see Facebook is disallowing, telling different bots, crawlers like Facebook, search engine crawlers and Apple bots to disallow to index this actually login information. So we can check for interesting things here. So we know there is some login, photos, plugin, share, and all that, and they are disallowing for Baidu's. Baidu is a search engine in China, Baidu Spider, to disallow to index these directories or files. You can see, and for Bing, they are disallowing to index this all information. For DuckDuck is a search engine. They are also disallowing, and Facebook. This is for Google search engine. Facebook is disallowing to index. But if we don't specify this and like simply do user agent and star, that means it will index everything, like whatever it will find directories. And because sometimes uh, vendors or different website owner, they don't want to get indexed like certain directories, for example payment or gateways or something like that can be used by attackers, that can be actually easily available in the search engine. So this all URLs will not be in the search engine. For example, in Google, if somebody tries to get their open source intelligence and do in URL advanced operator like in URL and do some search, So that actually will be hidden, like because of this robots.txt. So this was just an example, but simply looking at robots.txt in our internal web application, we were able to find the first flag. So we'll continue from tomorrow. I hope it was informative. And if you have any questions, you can ask, and then we will end today's session.
Yes, I just have a few questions actually.
Yes, tell
Like,
me.
how do you find the URL for the SQL? Like, you get the cat1.php or one or something like that. So, how do you find that? What are the kind of parameters that we can have to trample the data out there?
Yes, for that I'll share my screen again. Yeah, I didn't find actually, but while I was searching the web application without logging in, so
Hmm.
this is the web application, and I don't have any login access now, right? Like, oh, I'm logged in, so I'll try to log out. So now if I click admin, I don't have any login access, and it's simply the web application. I was just checking different options, like I can see text, Tascon 2010. So if I go to 2010, it is actually some PHP, and it is category ID 13. So this is how actually. But if you want to specifically search for vulnerabilities in the online world, I mean, you can do this. So it's called Google Doc, and search for in URL PHP. This way, actually, we'll be able to find a lot of parameters in the internet. But we are not supposed to do any tests because we are not authorized, right? But this way, actually, you
Okay.
can find a lot of websites. Like, for example, we can also add this .pk, and then if you see, like, we have all the Pakistan. No, I think not this one. Yeah. Oh, not this one. Basically, like, I think you got the idea. So this is how using
Yeah.
Google Doc we can find, like, different parameters, like having PHP ID is equal to. So, but we are not allowed to. But that will be illegal. Here you can see PHP ID is equal to 3. So now it is redirecting and going to something else.
Okay.
So it was
So,
already
and
there.
one
I
more.
didn't find. But after
Okay.
finding, I just put a single quote and then pressed enter, and it was actually because it's already vulnerable, so that's why we are getting
Hmm.
the error based SQL syntax query error. That means it confirms it's vulnerable to SQL injection, and the next step was the entire URL I just took and used nmap.
Okay. So, for
Sorry,
example,
SQL.
if at all, if I'm just scrolling some website and how do I find if at all if it is vulnerable or no? Like, I'm just some random website which is just new to me.
Right. In random website, actually, we are not supposed to test like in live website, but for example, you can go ahead and check hacker1.com. So here, like, they are inviting different security researchers all over the world, and you can actually test for security issues. So if it
Hmm.
is from one of these website, you can test. But most of the issues are already solved. You can see, but you can
Exactly.
read the reports. Like if you have some SQL injection related reports, that you can see and understand about those how the security researcher was able to find and what were the steps. If the report is publicly disclosed, if it is not disclosed publicly, you won't be able to find. So here are few reports related to cross-site scripting, But if you want to check for SQL injection, I don't know, like if there is a filter. It's a type program reporter, report stats, CV, asset type. So in live website, no, but exam point of view, like if you are asked to do like some web application hacking and they will give you IP address, you have to check whether application is vulnerable to SQL injection or not. So in order to do, there will be a lot of labs in Portsweaker Academy. You can do all that actually related to SQL injection. So there are entire, labs that you can try that will help you understand SQL injection. So here you have 16 labs here, all free.
Okay.
So you will understand about SQL injection. The labs, they have some answers also. Like I think no, this is just talking about we want the labs. So all labs. So these are the SQL injection labs.
Okay. So you can
For that you
just
have to do.
even enroll yourself for this bug crowd and hacker one and these bug bounty kind of websites also, right?
Yeah.
And how about this SQL login form? Like you were telling me that we could even crack that with the SQLs or something.
Yeah, there are different payloads like SQL injection payloads. So if there is a login form,
Hmm.
for that, like I will show you in the upcoming class, like how we can. So the
Okay,
concept
sure.
is like one is equal to one. Like it will check like whether username and password. We can, if it is vulnerable to SQL injection, we can give or like give another situation like because this is true because username is what the the client input in the field because it's true he was allowed to get inside and he was authenticated. But sometimes even
Okay,
if the attacker is using a wrong username and password, then it will be false. But if the
okay,
application is vulnerable, in the input field we will type false, or we'll add or. That means like or one is equal to one. That means that is also true, right? So in some
okay,
cases, like without even username and password, you can log in.
okay. And like you got a password hash from the SQL map. I think I am sure you got it from the terminal.
Yeah.
Would you be even able to crack those hashes with the John the Ripper tool?
John the Ripper, yes. John the
Yeah.
Ripper and Hascat.
Okay. So which tool is much better compared to each other, like Hashcat or John the Ripper?
Hashcat is better, I think.
Okay.
John the Ripper
And
is
all the
also good.
passwords in the database is always in MD5 hash, is it?
Yeah, it's for security. Like it's up to the developer nowadays. Yeah, it's all encrypted in a
Okay.
hash format.
Oh, but it could be any kind of hash. There are so many different types. SHA-250,
Fixed.
MD5, could be any one of those, isn't it, Ivan? There's so many hash type that we can
Yeah, even
implement.
there is a hash like we won't be able to crack those hash if it is salted. Like there is some security control
Yeah,
in hashing also. SALT. So they
sorting
will
and
add some random character. Yeah, in the hash, and
stretching
there are
and
some other.
sorting. Yeah, that's right.
So if we crack it, still if you don't know that key, won't be able to find the real password. So
And
this was like
like
you
one more
can
question I had.
yeah,
Like you went to a website and you just wrote it down like a robot.txt at the last. So this
yeah,
robot.txt is the same for all the websites?
yeah, depending upon